Welcome to the Low Carb Athlete Podcast, where we focus on discussing topics to help you burn fat, optimize health, and improve performance in life and sports. Transform the whole you from the inside out with the holistic method. Let's dive in. Here's your host, Debbie Potts.
Hey guys, just wanted to give you a quick little message of one of my favorite new product lines out there. Ideal for the low carb athlete to fuel before, during, and after your workouts. This company is called Equip Foods. Equip is one of my favorite supplement brands as they provide some of the shortest ingredients lists in the industry, which is hard to find, with products made from 100% real food, no junk, no chemicals, no artificial flavors or fillers. Their best seller is what I've been using, the Chocolate Prime Protein, which is actually a grass-fed beef protein powder providing a whopping 21 grams of complete protein in each scoop with only 3 ingredients, and you don't even taste them. Grass-fed beef protein, stevia, and cocoa. Now, don't worry, despite its simplicity, it does taste incredible, not like beef. That would not taste good in my shake. Equip also has a 1-ingredient collagen powder made from grass-fed bovine collagen, providing incredible benefits for your joint health, skin, and recovery. Plus more, ideal for the aging athlete. Equip is currently having its biggest sale of the year to date, so if you're interested in checking out Prime Protein, collagen, or any of their other products, as I like the pre-workout WOD before my strength training sessions, get up to 25% off. Head to equipfoods.com/low-carb-athlete. So you can use your code low-carb-athlete and get a deal. Enjoy.
Hey, it's Debbie, and I want to record a solo podcast today to talk about meal timing, as I find it's really confusing to figure out, do I eat before this workout or do I not eat? Do I eat in the evening when I'm going to work out the next day, but I'm not hungry? So what should we do to optimize our health? What should we do fueling wise to improve our performance? How do we work on improving recovery, muscle repair? As athletes and as high-performing individuals, we tend to do a little bit too much of everything, right? If you're like me or the old me, I've changed so much the last few years that we kind of thrive with more is better, and we don't know when to say when, push pause, and reset, when to reboot ourselves. And I find with this whole thing the last few years, 5 years, fasting and exercise. Now, I started getting into fasting, it's 2023. I think it was probably 2015. I'm trying to figure out when those fasting books and meal timing, time restricted feeding, all those books started coming out with Dr. Sech and Panda, and all the other fasting research started coming out. And I, of course, started dabbling into not eating before exercise, got into, low carb eating back in 2005 and metabolic efficiency training and eating more fat a long time ago. But then I started combining that with fasting, and I think it kind of messed me up. So the research last couple of years have really helped me open my eyes and not be so strict and so set in my ways and being stubborn of fasting, right? So we tend to follow these rules and be rigid because we're type A, triple A personalities, that we are not paying attention to what we actually feel. Hello, I'm hungry, or you're not hungry, versus just cravings and mindless eating. So if you want to eat mindfully, eating, feeling full and satiated is one thing, but eating just for no reason, snacking on stuff that isn't nutrient dense, that's different. And if we're exercising, well, what if we're trying to get stronger? You're trying to get faster. You're trying to hit more speed intervals, times on running and biking. You're trying to hit more higher power outputs, watts. Sometimes we might need a little bit of calories before the workout. And it's hard because we don't want to eat. I don't like to eat before I work out, and I have to time when to eat. Especially my personal experiment is working out first thing in the morning, typically going to the gym, then going for a run, might be speed run, or I do spin class once a week on Wednesdays with some more power intervals. So it's should be anaerobic. So that's another conversation because I need to have the fuel source and the ability to go hard and push myself and go into that uncomfortable zone. If you're an endurance athlete, as me for so many years, you're used to going Forrest Gump, long, steady, easy. I can go for hours and hours and hours. But for my personal fitness goals right now, and as an aging athlete, my goal is to increase my power and my speed. And it's really hard to go into that, go deep and go into that uncomfortable phase, pushing myself all out for 30 seconds, 1 minute, 2, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. So that's one thing. The other thing I was getting to is swimming, doing that morning routine I do and then go to work. And then I swim masters 11:45 to 1 o'clock a few days a week. So it's really hard to time when I eat something in the morning and what to eat, but really the what I'm eating, but it's more what time I'm eating so I can digest it before swimming so I don't have problems regurgitating that ground beef I just ate or steak or something I just had in between my morning workout, my lunchtime workout. So doing a 2-day workout, we have to be real more creative. When should you do more of a longer fast? Well, that's another topic. We want to look at doing a longer fast on our rest day, on our active recovery day, that we don't have any important workouts to do. We're just trying to get mobility and movement throughout the day. So that's maybe when I do a bone broth fast. Females that are cycling, we don't want to put that in around ovulation or your late luteal phase. So that's when we specifically can time when it's ideal for you to do a fasted exercise, a 12, 15-hour fast versus doing a 17-hour longer fast, and then work on, pre-morning workout, say 5:30 in the morning, 6 a.m. Do you eat beforehand? Working backwards, looking at, all right, what did I eat for dinner the night before? When did I stop eating? For me, I was eating my main meal, typically I do now, say 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock, and then I wasn't eating anything until the next day. And this is the last couple of years. And then I started paying attention, going, all right, my goal is to hit these numbers a little higher in the spin class. My goal is to get faster doing speed workout. So if you look at your performance, your output, if it's kind of crappy, you're not hitting those numbers, you're kind of sluggish and tired, well, let's use more of our intuition instead of being stubborn, driven, sticking with this 16-hour fasting window and trying to hit these workouts, not eating anything. Or for me, I wasn't eating enough probably the night before. And I don't do well eating 3 hours before bed. So what I was just talking to someone about, why don't we add in some bone broth in the evening, something that's easy to digest. Even a shake kind of sits in my stomach, not quite right. So not eating 3 hours before bed is ideal, but what if you are doing something, an activity in the evening, and then you're working out in the morning? So this is where it is helpful to work with a coach to figure out your typical weekday and your weekend, and then look at each day in the month to figure out how to personalize your fueling nutrition plan to match your workouts and your active recovery days. So there's so much that goes in to figure out what to eat, when to eat. Look at how you're eating and why you're eating, even where you're eating. Are you eating at your desk while you're working, or you are in your car, or are you able to sit down and be more mindful and slow down and take a moment to really taste your food, enjoy it, and be with your family and not rush, right? We kind of tend to be that rushing women syndrome, rushing athletes. We're just trying to fit in food so we can get on to the next thing. So I was trying to find some articles for you to review on meal timing for the busy athlete. So I should say the busy, high-performing individual. And we really want to look at what is the best time for you to eat, but what should you eat? I'm trying to hit more protein in each meal, 30 to 50 grams. If I do that 3 times a day, I typically eat one big meal and then a smaller meal, but I can't hit my protein goals in. So where can I get in more protein? Where can I find the right time to eat so I'm able to digest food before I go into my next workout, or I digest food in time for bed, and really figure out that schedule for you because you're unique to everybody else. We don't all have the same schedule. So working on, what time do you go to bed? Go backwards from there. What time you should stop eating? And then work your way through that day. And then how you start the day. When do you fit in your workout? And then when do you eat? I like to wait till I'm hungry to eat, but that can get myself in trouble because I can kind of push through it and keep going, and then suddenly it's later in the day. Example, last Saturday, I was watching friends at the Oceanside 70.3 triathlon, went home. I had some coffee that morning and some of my electrolyte water with LMNT, and then I went home and I needed to eat something and then go for a bike ride. So I ate, waited a little bit, doing some chores, went for my bike ride, but I came home and I started doing things and I didn't eat for a while and I wasn't really hungry. Well, Sunday morning, I went to go for my longer run. I was doing an hour, 45-minute run and I had no energy. So I had to look back going, okay, let's analyze this. Why do I not have energy? What day of the month is it for my cycle? But what did I eat yesterday? What time of day I worked out later in the day that I'm used to? I did the sauna. I ate more of my heavier meal earlier in the day. I probably didn't eat enough after my bike ride. And then for female athletes, Dr. Stacy Sims talks about for females to eat in that 30-minute window, have some protein and carbs as a shake with some berries, and then to have your bigger meal or another meal after that. But men can maybe wait 3 hours, but women, we have this more of that 30-minute window we hear about. Maybe that is accurate for my body. So I have to analyze sometimes what happens when a workout's kind of crappy and disappointing, and you have to look at the why and then change my mindset to be happy to be even being outside in nature and I'm moving, I'm not injured, I don't have severe knee pain, ankle, I'm not stuck inside. So I am able to get outside and move, but it might not be a nice, strong, fast run. It might be a walk, or that day it was more of a jog downhill and then walking most of the time. So it was a little disappointment. So when that does happen, a side note, you have to rewire your brain and go back to my mantra: positive attitude, positive vibes, positive energy. So here's an article I found with Pinoe. Pinoe is a metabolic testing cart. It's a little suitcase that I just ordered. I've been looking at it since 2018. So over 5 years, I've been talking to this company and I finally decided I'm ready. I'm ready to do this. So it's metabolic testing, but more of a breath analysis. So we can see so much more than just your fat oxidation rate at a certain point in your exercise session and at rest. But we can analyze your breath, your posture, the longevity, so much information. But they had this article on the role of nutrient timing in performance and recovery for athletes. So their key points they talk about is nutrient timing is the strategic consumption of energy, macronutrients, fluids, and micronutrients in the hours before, during, and after exercise to optimize performance and to enhance the adaptations to exercise and accelerate recovery. Also, the recommended intake of carbohydrates for most endurance athletes typically ranges 5 to 12 grams per kilogram. In the upper ends, reserved for those engaging in 8 hours or more of exercise at 70% VO2 max exercise. And I'll pull up Dr. Stacy Sims' recommendations more for the female athlete, but we'll go on here. So athletes should follow appropriate rehydration strategies during exercise to limit the total body fluid losses less than 2% of body weight and avoid, of course, adverse outcomes in exercise performance and recovery. So nutrient timing is super essential. And we really want to work with the individual. I'm all about prioritizing protein. Protein is important. Muscle is an organ of longevity. We want to make sure we're getting protein timed right. But if you're more of a carnivore-based diet, it's really hard to digest. It takes me a long time to digest and break down that steak or ground beef. So those people who are strict carnivore, I don't really know how you're eating. If I'm going swimming, I'm not really hungry, so I have to eat, say, at 9 a.m. to give myself 3 hours to digest that. So you have to time when you're having more of your carnivore-based diet. And then if you're more of a keto Mediterranean diet, or if you're just kind of paleo real food diet, or your AIP, which is autoimmune protocol, paleo protocol, that you want to eat what works best for you. Ideally, testing and not guessing, looking at your glucose meter, but really focusing on food that makes you feel good and energetic, that will help improve your performance, help speed up recovery, muscle repair. So protein first. Carbohydrates, those are going to vary based on your intensity and duration. Now, when I do metabolic testing, we're always burning some carbohydrates. You're not burning 100% fat. And then we'll test and we'll find out where, in an exercise test, where that metabolic crossover point is, where you switch from burning mostly fat, some carbs, to all carbohydrates. So it's not that we're not burning any carbs. This is a low carb athlete podcast. It doesn't mean zero carb. It means strategic carb timing. And when carbs are your backup fuel source, carbs are going to give you that extra boost and power and speed fuel you need, not the slow burning big fat log as fat burning does. We want to burn kindling. We're going to need more carbs stored in our muscle glycogen storage for that more anaerobic high intensity workout that we should be doing twice a week, maybe 3 times a week, spreading that out with those lower heart rate workouts. So this article is talking about nutrient timing. Think about it as a consumption of nutrients pre, during, and post exercise. As I said, the primary goal of this workout nutrition is to provide nutritional support, this article says, to allow the athlete to stay injury-free while maximizing performance, as well as the functional and metabolic adaptations to the exercise program. So the strategic consumption of energy in the form of carbohydrates, protein, and or fats, fluids, and micronutrients in the hours before, during, and after exercise can maximize muscle repair, improve body composition, optimize performance, and enhance muscular-related adaptations such as strength and hypertrophy. So the nutrients that we need, and the practical strategies to keep us fueled up appropriately and recover appropriately post-workout is going to vary a lot. As I said, the type of exercise, the intensity, the duration, but also I'm doing functional lab testing, looking at clients' food zoomers, so their sensitivities, what foods reacted to. I'm looking at their microbiome, I'm looking at their hormones in a Dutch test, and I'm looking at their blood chemistry test. And really figuring out, does that person already have a lot of stress? Should we limit too many fasted workouts? Should we really optimize their performance by adding a little bit of calories, maybe adding some mushroom, cordyceps, lion's mane, chaga into their coffee drink before they work out, as I do with the Laird Superfood product? But really looking at, when can we benefit by having a little bit of something pre-workout? What if you are going for a longer duration, say bike ride or long hike? Yes, I can stay fasted, not eat anything, but what if I could be stronger and go faster and go longer if I have a little something as S Fuels Train drink mix, or maybe a bar from S Fuels or Kion or Laird Superfood that's a clean, nutrient-dense fuel that we want to make sure we're not getting garbage in. So it's going to depend. And then post-workout, are you getting good source of protein and quality nature's carbohydrates to refuel those muscle glycogen stores, to repair those muscles? Bone broth, I think, is a magic supplement to add in there. It's nature's foods that you're going to get in your food plan. We're trying to avoid the processed foods with all the junk in it that people eat. I must say, I was watching the 70.3 triathlon, and there's a lot of athletes that aren't lean. They are exercising, but they're probably not eating nutrient-dense whole food diet that's giving them good energy for their workout and good sources of protein and quality carbohydrates for that proper recovery and repair. Perhaps they're not optimizing sleep and really prioritizing their sleep hygiene routine and how they start the day. Maybe we get up and work out, but we're not moving throughout the day and getting outside and spending time in nature and unplugging, disconnecting. So the holistic method is how I coach people, really working on the whole you, the whole athlete, to really optimize your fat loss, performance, and longevity. So your energy requirements are different for each person. So we want to really figure out what works best for you, the unique individual. So looking at your stress in your life on top of what type of workout you are doing. So that nutrition plan and nutrient timing should be changing almost every day, because your hard workout should ideally be an easy workout the next day or 2 days after that. So we're spreading those workouts. So we can really match the nutrition and the meal planning to the workout intensity, figure out that timing. But the days that you're doing the low heart rate zone 2 workout, maybe you're doing an active recovery day, those calories and those macros are going to be a little different. We don't need as many carbohydrates the days we're not doing the high intensity workout. If you're doing that first thing in the morning, that high intensity workout, then that timing of your nature's carbs with the good protein and healthy fat will be in that early evening meal, ideally 3 hours before bed. And then maybe that morning before workout, you have your electrolyte water, you have some tea, or you're having some coffee, as I do, some layered superfood coffee with mushrooms and heavy cream, a little bit in there, if you can do dairy. So the energy requirements is going to be different for you. And the appropriate energy intake, this article from Pinoy talks about, is a cornerstone of an athlete's diet. And since it supports the optimal body function, the energy requirements, this determines the intake levels of macronutrients and the micronutrients, as well as assists in manipulating body composition when required. As I said, a lot of athletes do not look very lean. They're still fit and maybe fat, and they're not burning that fat off because they're not eating right for their body type. They're not eating right for their exercise output. Possibly a lot of you have hidden internal sources of chronic stress that are raising that blood sugar all the time. So stress is on, their blood sugar is up. So even if you're trying to change your macronutrients to help you lose weight and burn more fat the way you fuel and train, well, if that is backfiring, maybe that's not their focus area. The focus area should be on how's your stress externally, and let's identify those hidden internal stressors and reveal what they are with functional lab testing, or really get a picture of what's actually going on under the hood. Because a lot of you are coming to me for coaching and are struggling to get those desired results. But I can reveal a lot of areas of opportunity that we can get your body working back at optimal level in, say, 3 to 6 months, so we can get you back on track and improve the aging process. But we need to figure out that we're getting enough adequate energy in terms of the amount and the timing. This article says, again, going back to reading this, especially during periods, as I said, high intensity and or the long, slower duration training to maintain health and maximize training outcomes. So an athlete's energy requirements depends on the periodized training and competition cycle and may vary significantly throughout the yearly training plan relative to the training volume intensity changes. So I'm saying every day, every week, but really looking at your quarterly schedule, your periodized training schedule based on when your race season is, when your off season is, when you're building. That nutrition is going to change as your exercise changes. And then females that are premenopausal, then we can dial it in every week. Your workout schedule will be different based on the changes of your hormones. And then we have changes with our stress levels. So I know a lot of people have family stress, financial stress. Family stress is a big thing right now. A lot of people have sick family members or losing their parents and struggling with relationships with people that there's a lot of added stress. So we want to really look at you as a whole, that holistic method. All right, so the article continues. Energy requirements are influenced by biological and environmental factors. The energy needs are increased during training in cold and or hot environmental conditions, high altitude exposure, physical injuries, and by increases in our fat-free mass or lean mass. Energy requirements are lowered by aging, decreases in our fat-free mass, and possibly during the follicular phase of the female's menstrual cycle. As I talked about, we need to change our energy requirements. Map it out, right? Dr. Mindy and I talked about that. You can really figure this all out by looking at that schedule. I use Training Peaks or TriDot is even better to put people on training for triathlon, and they're coming out with a run program, Run Dot. I'm excited to put all this data into it so we can really adjust your training schedule based on the environmental conditions. So there's so much to really look at these days that I never had when I was racing back in 2001 to 2013 that I tried again in 2015. But nowadays we have so much data to collect to really optimize your performance and health and longevity. So we want to see what we can do. Now, I know a lot of people struggle with blaming the aging process instead of, as I always say, embracing the aging process. So as we get older, I'm not going to train the same way. If I did an Ironman next year at 51, I'm not going to train how I used to do it when I was 28 years old. I started doing dance skin triathlons when I was 25 years old. It was a piece of cake. I did a ton of volume. I rocked it on the bike. It was my happy place, easy. And running long distance. I go 3-hour runs. Longest run, I think I did 4-hour run training. Nowadays, I do the minimalist training, 45 minutes, do some long stuff and do more speed work. You need to get in the gym more or wherever you need to lift heavy things. We need more strength training, especially if you have a lot of stress, your cortisol level is above your optimal range. You are more in a catabolic state. So if your DHA to cortisol ratio is off, we are breaking down our muscle rather than building it up. So to counter that breakdown with the aging process and with hormone imbalance, hello, what do? We need to get focused on lifting heavy weights, eating our protein, and spreading that out throughout the day when you eat your protein meals. So much we can do to optimize the aging process instead of my thing I hate when people say is, oh, I'm getting older, I can't do that. I just say, BS, it's not true. There's options. We just need to train differently. So, looking at what sport you're doing, figuring out what body weight goals you have, but really looking at how to feel train, and perform differently as we age. So extreme weight loss behavior might not have as much of impact these days. Continuous dieting doesn't really work. What's going to happen is you're going to have that low energy availability, poor nutrition. It's going to just give you lack of nutrient support and really compromise your health and performance. I think a lot of my struggles have been because I was fasting too much. I wasn't eating enough. I wasn't hitting those protein goals. I was focused on eating more fat. So when I'm interviewed and people talk about keto and fasted exercise and being a low carb, fat adapted athlete, that's my story. But I wasn't eating enough. I wasn't eating protein as I am now. And I'm being more forgiving to myself, more intuitive eating and adding in, I was just in Hawaii, purple potatoes, russet potatoes, sweet potatoes, adding in those starchy carbs when I know I'm going to need more energy. So it's really individual. I think we just get so strict in following these rules we hear about and not individualize this information, especially for athletes and the female athlete, especially those that are premenopausal female athletes. The food, you need more hormone building days around ovulation and around your late luteal phase. So look at Dr. Mindy, Dr. Annika Becca, look at Cynthia Thurlow. They're all saying the same story. So Dr. Stacy Sims, same thing. She thinks total opposite of them, that fasting is not good. We want to, fasting is normal is 12 hours. We shouldn't be eating less than that unless you did a lot of exercise, but you're sleeping ideally 8 hours and you're not eating 3 hours before bed. So it should be easy to not eat 12 hours. So carbs, where do those fit in? Again, it depends on, I think, the intensity and the duration. So this article says carbs have a vital role in performance and adaptation to exercise. Evidence that exercise performance is enhanced by strategies that maintain high carb availability, matching glycogen stores and blood glucose to the fuel demands of exercise. In contrast, depletion of these stores is associated with muscle fatigue, impaired skill and concentration, and increased perception of effort. General guidelines for suggested intake of carbohydrates can be provided according to the athlete's body weight and characteristics of the workout. The timing of carbohydrate ingestion over the day in relation to the training can be manipulated to promote optimal carb reserve. So we talk about endurance training and then talking about the recommended daily carb intake from nature's foods. I'll add, not crappy processed foods with a ton of vegetable oils and fillers and guar gums and all this crap, and even the keto fake sweeteners and sugars and stuff. Really look at real food. That's my focus, right? We want to eat nature's foods. So manipulate nutrition and exercise in the hours or days leading up to critical endurance workout, competition, or event is highly prioritized feeding window, what you're eating and when, and of course, how you're eating, mindfully versus mindlessly, chewing your food, eating slowly, tasting it, enjoying it. Really important part, getting digestive enzymes, apple cider vinegar, there's different things you can do, bitters in your water. So this allows the athlete to maximize the muscle and liver glycogen stores. Now, you can go back and listen to Peter Defty. We talked about this a lot. Strategic carb timing and his optimal fat program, OFM. And then we've talked to different people, Rob Wolf on his carb testing and really looking at NutriSense and Keto Mojo testing and figuring out what is good using BioSense, really measuring things instead of guessing. So I think it's really important to take time out to look at what you're eating, what is your workout that day, what is your stress level. Just really look at all these lifestyle elements that I call the holistic method and how I coach people. That's what I'm really excited to add in Pinoy metabolic testing to my clients who are in North San Diego. And then I'll take this to events as Lava Man and hopefully KetoCon and Low Carb Cruise and really test people's metabolism and their breath, analyze their breathing capacity and efficiency at rest as well as during exercise. And then we can collect all this data in the reports that I went over in a previous episode. Fascinating. And then ideally, you're supposed to fast 5 hours before the metabolic test. But what if we test how is your performance if we use the fuel that you want to try using on race day? And then we can find out what if you added in something as S Fuels Race, S Fuels Plus. What if you added Vespa? What if you added HVMN Ketone IQ? Super cool. And then what if you have NutriSense on? We can test what is your blood sugar reading during that training or that testing session, right? How cool is that? And then we can look at your heart rate variability during these tests, look at your LF to HF score, really dial it in. And then we can figure out what foods are best for you. Pinoy has an app to figure out your nutrition, but also I can, give recommendations if we did further testing with a Vibrant Wellness Food Zoomer test. We can figure out what foods do you need to eliminate for 90 days as we remove those to heal and seal your gut. So really cool stuff coming out here. So if you live in North San Diego or want to come out, I will be doing testing soon and putting this all together, but I'm so excited to get this information together. So nutrient timing, my tagline for my fitness studio that I owned for 10 years, Fitness Forward Studio, was called, or Fitness Forward Studio's tagline was fuel, train, and perform. So I've been doing this for 15 plus years when I opened my studio and my own business outside of where I used to work. Now to put all this together Super cool. I did metabolic testing, as I said, New Leaf starting back in 2005. New Leaf got bought, 2012, somewhere around there by Lifetime Fitness, so we could no longer use New Leaf metabolic testing. So now I'm so excited because there's so much more we learned since testing back then. So thinking about how chronic stress impacts your ability to burn fat. I can see that. I used to see that testing, but I didn't really know what I know now to know, okay, if I tested someone at 5 p.m. after a work day, stressful job and driving in traffic versus someone at, say, 6 in the morning, really look at how much fat they're burning to carbohydrate at rest and during exercise. Pretty fascinating. And so we can figure out more how to biohack to improve fat loss, performance, and the aging process, your longevity, by collecting this data and seeing what's actually going on with you. So I look forward to kind of doing my own biohack experiment and working on optimizing the fueling strategies for clients for sports or endurance events, and just maybe they just want to get stronger, faster, and more fit as they age. So you don't have to do a race. I'm not training for anything. I'm just training for the race of life, really. I want to be my best self and live my best life the second half of my life, even though, my first half of life was racing for 15, 16 years, doing long distance events for many, many, many years. And I am just enjoying training now and having fun and going by what I feel like doing. So if you have questions, if you want to learn more, head to debbypotts.net. Feel free to check out all the free ebooks on the website, debbypotts.net, and then head to YouTube and subscribe to our Low Carb Athlete podcast YouTube channel there. And I've got a whole channel, or a playlist rather, of my solo podcasts with the slides. So I've talked a lot about fueling training and matching your fueling with your training with what I've learned from EndureIQ, Dr. Dan Plews, and S Fuels research, and putting that together into slides. So go check out the ebook and the videos on there to learn more. So talk to you soon. Head to debbypotts.net if you want to talk to me and set up a discovery call. See you later. Enjoy the day.
Thanks for listening to the Low Carb Athlete Podcast. If you have any questions, feedback, or topic suggestions, let us know on Facebook or at debbypotts.net. You can help us to continue to grow by leaving a review on iTunes. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.